Welcome back, friends. My name is Ross, and I help people rewrite their stories. And today I want to talk a little bit about learned optimism. This is the title of a book by a guy named Martin E.P. Seligman. He was a doctor, and I was given this book by my old therapist back when I was in therapy, and it kind of started me on this self-help book journey. And I know there's stigma around self-help as a genre, as a qualification, and I don't understand why. Like, any book that helps you is a self-help book. It doesn't have to be mental work or, weight loss. A weight loss book could be a self-help book. A psychology book could be a self-help book. Anything that helps yourself is a self-help book, and a fiction book could do that. But this book, Learned Optimism, is what I want to talk about today. I kind of got on a self-help rant tangent there. So bringing it back. So I recently rediscovered this book as I was going through my old things, whittling down what I no longer need, what no longer serves me. And I realized that I still use some of the skills I learned in this book. And I think that's pretty cool. And I want to talk to you today about the abcdes that they mention in the book. So when you find yourself in a situation where you can either be optimistic or pessimistic, I want you to remember the abcdes, and they stand for adversity, beliefs, consequences, disputation, and energization. So A, adversity. This is what in a writing world would be called the inciting incident. Whatever the thing is that sets you off, whatever event triggers you to go from whatever your status quo is into optimism or pessimism. The example in the book is a friend borrows another friend's earrings, and she goes out dancing, and it sounds like she dances like me because she ends up losing one of them. So from your adversity, it goes into belief, and that is whatever you think is going to happen because of that situation. So for the example of the woman losing her friend's earring, she starts thinking about how, oh, my friend's going to think I'm such a goofball that I can't take care of anything, and these were her favorite earrings, and I lost them. And does that sound familiar to you? When anything happens, your subconscious beliefs kind of take over and they just kind of run on autopilot. But as we've talked about before here, and I've mentioned on my blog, which I will link to in the description, beliefs aren't necessarily facts. Beliefs are just thoughts that you keep telling yourself over and over and over again. And since you can change your thoughts, you can change your beliefs. From there, we go to C, consequences. And those are what you think will happen based on your beliefs. And remember, your beliefs might be faulty. They might not have all the information. And for the example with the friend who loses the earrings, she starts thinking, oh, Sally's never going to want to see me again. Her name wasn't Sally. I don't remember what it was. Karen, maybe. I don't know. My friend will never want to see me again. Oh. Again, these are all based on beliefs that might not be true and an instant reaction. She hasn't even called her friend to tell her yet at this point in the example. This is all happening internally. And I don't know if this ever happens to you, but before I read this book, I was definitely one of those people who would just jump right to worst case scenarios. And the thing about that is, if your mind is capable of coming up with a worst case scenario completely out of nothing, then you have to understand that your mind can also come up with the exact opposite scenario. And not just that, everything in between the spectrum of worst case and best case. Best case should probably be up here, right? Yeah. Because that's what your mind does. Your mind likes to think. Your mind likes problems, and if it doesn't have a problem, it will go looking for them. And if your beliefs are faulty, then your mind's going to have a field day. Your mind is going to have a field day. I don't know what happened with my mouth there. It didn't want my mind to go, so it didn't. D stands for disputation, and this is where you change the course of everything that's been happening. So the adversity has set in, your beliefs have been going haywire, you're feeling uncomfortable inside about everything, and that's where you stop it. You say, why do I feel this way? A really great question to ask yourself when you're in this situation. I learned this from another book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, by Mark Manson, I'm not sure. Mason. But the question is, why does this seem true? This is such a useful question. I was just using it last weekend, actually. I was spinning out of control, and the great thing was that I was aware of the spinning, and before I wasn't aware of it, and I just thought, this is how I am. I just spin, but I was aware of the spinning, and I was aware of what was causing it, which was leagues ahead of where I was when I read this book, Learned Optimism. And I asked myself, why does this seem true? Why does it seem true that your best friend, who trusted you enough to loan you the earrings, is going to stop talking to you and completely close the gates, burn the bridge, drop the drawbridge? What am I trying to say here? Sever ties. So, the disputation phase is when you can really start to have fun and really start to see how your mind works and what beliefs it's holding on to. You can say, for whatever the thing is, why does this seem true? And then you get an answer from that. And you can keep going. Why does this seem true? Why does this seem true? On and on and on until you get to the bedrock of the belief. So, when you get into the disputation phase of questioning your beliefs, there are 4 important ways to make your questions really convincing. Look for the evidence, look for the alternatives, look for the implications. I thought I could do this from memory. And look for the usefulness. Evidence, pretty self-explanatory. Is there any proof that what you believe is true? Alternatives, like I was talking about before. If your brain can construct the worst case scenario, it can also construct everything in between. Where did we say worst case was down here? There it is. If your brain can construct a worst case scenario, it can construct every conceivable scenario up to the best case scenario. You lost your friend's earrings. Unfortunate, but she'll understand it was an accident. That's kind of in the middle there between, my friend will never want to speak to me again, and my friend hates earrings. She's been lying to me the whole time about her earrings, and she doesn't even have her ears pierced, and they were stolen from a traveling showgirl from the 1920s who's also a time traveler. Implications, other than being a hilarious bit from It's Always Sunny, is what will the outcome be if that worst case scenario is true? Is your friend really going to stop being friends with you over a lost earring? And if that is true, is that really the kind of friend you want to have? And the last one, usefulness. Is it useful to think in this way right now? Or is it best to just get on with the day and stop ruminating? Here's the dirty little secret. Rumination is never useful. It keeps you focused in the past and prevents you from living in the present moment. So in the example, the person uses those 4 questions to dispute her beliefs about being completely irresponsible for losing the earrings, and she comes to the conclusion that she is not irresponsible for losing an earring. She realized it was an inaccurate label. And like I've said time and time again, our brain loves labels. It's kind of how it functions in the world. But if you can see that a label, kind of like a belief, isn't helping you, then you can let it go. And the last letter, E, stands for energization, and that is essentially how you feel now that you've done this disputation of your beliefs and how you're going to carry that into whatever the interaction is. For the example with the earrings, the person realized that they didn't feel as bad. They felt bad for losing it, but they weren't ashamed of it, and they realized that it wasn't going to end their friendship. So, my friends, those are the ABCDs, E's, of learned optimism. A, adversity. B, beliefs. C, consequences. D, disputation. And E, energization. I want you to try that the next time you encounter an adversity in your life. Or if you've done something similar, let me know in the comments below. Learned Optimism is such a great little book, and I will link to it below if you're interested in checking it out yourself. I'm really happy that I was able to rediscover it as I was cleaning and just kind of remember where I've been on my development self-help journey and where I am now. And it's crazy to think of how mired in thoughts I used to be able to become. And I'm not saying that I'm completely present and floating on a cloud right now, but I am aware of thoughts, and I am aware that I am just the thinker, and I'm able to separate from 90% of them. That might be a little optimistic, but hey, we're talking about learned optimism, and there's the thumbnail. So I'm going to ramble if I keep going, and that's really all I got today. I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that you can take these into your life and use them. I wish you a day filled with peace, happiness, and loving kindness. And until next time, my friends, remember, be kind, be well, and be yourself. We'll talk soon. Don't forget your ABCDEs.